I stood in front of the courthouse, my heart pounding against my ribs. 12 years had passed since I last saw their faces. My mother looked older, her hair now streaked with gray. My father stood beside her shoulders, hunched eyes filled with something that resembled regret. And my brother Derek, the golden child, avoided my gaze entirely. They wanted something from me. They always did. But this time I held all the cards. Because 12 years ago they left me with nothing but a note that read, "You will figure it out." Before I begin this story, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. If you have ever felt invisible to the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, this story might feel painfully familiar. Please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you have not already. And stay with me until the end, because what my family did to me, and what I did in return, might just change how you think about blood ties forever. Now let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, I always knew my place in the family hierarchy. We lived in a 2-story house that had seen better days. The paint was peeling, the porch creaked with every step, and the heating never quite worked properly in winter. My father Greg worked as a plumber, coming home each evening, smelling of copper pipes and sweat. My mother Linda worked as a cashier at the local supermarket, always complaining about her aching feet and difficult customers. Then there was Derek, my older brother by 4 years. Derek was everything I was not. Tall, athletic, charismatic. He played basketball like he was born for it, and my parents treated him like he hung the moon and stars. Every game, every practice, every award ceremony, they were there in the front row cheering until their voices went hoarse. Me, I was the quiet one. The invisible one. I brought home straight-A report cards that got a distracted nod. I won the regional science fair in 9th grade, and my mother forgot to pick me up from the ceremony. I was named Student of the Year in 10th grade, and my father asked if I could reschedule the award ceremony because it conflicted with one of Derek's games. I told myself it was fine. I told myself that maybe I just needed to try harder, achieve more, be better. Maybe then they would see me. Maybe then I would matter. The summer before my senior year, things started feeling different. I was 17 years old, working part-time at a pizza shop to save money for college. My parents had made it clear they could not afford to help me with tuition. Derek had gotten a basketball scholarship, of course, but me, I would have to figure it out on my own. I noticed small things at first, whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. My mother spending hours on the computer looking at maps of Florida, my father making phone calls in the garage with the door closed. Derek had just graduated from college and landed a job in Tampa. My parents talked about him constantly, about how proud they were, about how he was building such a wonderful life down south. One evening I asked my mother directly, "Are we moving?" She looked at me with an expression I could not quite read. "Do not worry about it," she said. "Everything will work out." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust that whatever was happening, I was part of the plan. I was their son, after all, their flesh and blood. August 12th started like any other day. I woke up early, went to summer school for an advanced placement class, then headed straight to work at the pizza shop. It was a long shift, and I did not get off until 9 in the evening. I remember being tired, my feet aching, my shirt stained with tomato sauce. When I turned onto our street, something felt wrong. The house was completely dark. No porch light, no flickering television glow from the living room window. My father's truck was gone. My mother's sedan was gone. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The silence hit me first. Then the emptiness. The living room was bare. The furniture, the pictures on the walls, the rug my mother had bought at a garage sale, all gone. I walked through the house in a daze. The kitchen empty, except for the old refrigerator. My parents' bedroom, nothing but dust marks on the floor where their bed used to be. Derek's old room completely cleared out. I ran upstairs to my room. My bed was still there. My clothes were still in the closet. A few books on my desk. They had left my things. Only my things. I went back downstairs, my hands shaking. That is when I saw it. A single piece of paper on the kitchen counter held down by a coffee mug. I recognized my mother's handwriting immediately. The words were brief and brutal. "April, we have moved to Florida with Derek. There is no room for you. The rent is paid until the end of the month. You will figure it out. We are done. Do not contact us." I read those words 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. My vision blurred. My knees gave out and I sank to the cold kitchen floor, the paper crumpling in my fist. Tears streamed down my face, soaking into the note, smearing the ink. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone and called my mother. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried my father. Same result. I called Derek. A recorded message told me the number was no longer in service. They had blocked me. All of them. They had erased me from their lives as thoroughly as they had emptied this house. I sat on that kitchen floor until midnight, waiting for someone to come back, for someone to tell me it was all a terrible joke. Nobody came. The next 2 weeks existed in a blur of panic and survival. I had $237 in my bank account. 14 days until the rent ran out and I would be homeless. I went to my high school to get my records sorted for senior year. That is when I learned the full extent of my parents' betrayal. They had already withdrawn me from school and requested a transfer listing an address in Florida, an address I had never seen, would never live at. My guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson, was the first adult to truly see my situation. She was a kind woman in her 50s with graying hair and gentle eyes. When I explained what had happened, her face shifted from confusion to horror to something that looked like heartbreak. She made phone calls. She contacted Child Protective Services. But the system was not built for cases like mine. I was 17 years old, only months away from turning 18. Too old for foster care, too young to have any real resources. I fell through the cracks that had swallowed countless teenagers before me. Mrs. Patterson found me a spot at a shelter for homeless youth called New Horizons. It was located in downtown Columbus, a squat brick building that had once been a warehouse. I shared a room with 3 other boys, sleeping on a bunk bed with a mattress that smelled of bleach and despair. The rules were strict: out by 7 in the morning, back by 9 at night. No drugs, no alcohol, no fighting. Every day was a struggle to maintain some semblance of normalcy. I kept going to school. I walked 45 minutes each way, because I could not afford bus fare. After classes, I worked at the pizza shop from 4 until 8. Then I walked back to the shelter, did my homework by flashlight after lights out, and tried to sleep despite the sounds of crying from neighboring bunks. Winter in Ohio is brutal, and that year was particularly harsh. I owned one thin jacket that did nothing against the biting wind. My shoes developed holes that I patched with cardboard. Many nights I cried silently into my pillow, careful not to let anyone hear. The one bright spot came unexpectedly. Near the shelter there was a small computer repair shop run by a man named Mr. Howard. He was a Vietnam veteran in his 60s, gruff on the outside but kind underneath. I used to stand outside his shop window on particularly cold days, looking at the warm glow inside, at the circuit boards and monitors and tangled wires. One day he opened the door and told me to come in before I froze to death. He made me hot chocolate and asked why I was staring at computers like they held the secrets of the universe. I told him I thought they did. He laughed at that, a deep rumbling sound. Then he handed me a broken laptop and told me to fix it. I had never formally studied computer repair, but something clicked in my brain. I took that laptop apart, identified the faulty component, and had it running within an hour. Mr. Howard watched with raised eyebrows. "You have a gift," he told me. "You see problems other people miss. That is rare, son. Do not waste it." From that day on, I spent every spare moment at his shop. He taught me about hardware and software, about coding and troubleshooting. He gave me purpose when I had none. He believed in me when my own blood had thrown me away. I graduated high school with a 3.9 grade point average. The ceremony was small from my perspective. No family in the audience, no celebration dinner afterward, just Mrs. Patterson and Mr. Howard, clapping proudly from the 3rd row. I got accepted to Ohio State University with a partial scholarship. But partial was not enough. I still needed money for housing, for food, for books. So I made a decision. I would work full-time during the day and take classes online at night. Mr. Howard hired me officially at the shop. $8 an hour, which felt like a fortune. I rented a tiny room in a boarding house smaller than my space at the shelter, but mine alone. Every night from 10 until 2 in the morning, I taught myself to code. I devoured tutorials, completed online courses, built small programs that nobody would ever see. I was running on 4 hours of sleep and pure determination. By 22, I had earned my degree in computer science. I got hired at a small tech company in Columbus, starting salary of $50,000 a year. It felt like winning the lottery. I worked harder than anyone else in that office. I arrived first and left last. I volunteered for projects nobody wanted. I learned everything I could from every person who would teach me. At 24, an idea began forming in my mind. An app for personal finance management, something that would help people like me, people starting from nothing, build something from nothing. I called it ClearPath Finance. I spent every free moment developing it. Weekends disappeared. Social life became non-existent. But I did not mind. I had a mission. Then tragedy struck. Mr. Howard was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He passed away 3 months later, leaving behind a hole in my heart that still has not fully healed. But he also left me something unexpected. In his will, he gave me his shop and $20,000 in savings. I sat in the lawyer's office holding the paperwork, tears streaming down my face. This man who owed me nothing had given me everything. While my own family had abandoned me, a stranger had claimed me as his own. I used that money to launch ClearPath Finance. 6 months after release, a venture capital firm noticed what I had built. They offered me $2 million in Series A funding. By 28, ClearPath had 5 million users. Forbes put me on their 30 under 30 list. News outlets wanted interviews. Investors wanted meetings. I had become a millionaire. My net worth sat at roughly $12 million. I bought a penthouse apartment in downtown Columbus in a building that overlooked the street where New Horizons shelter still stood. Sometimes I would look down at that brick building and remember the boy who slept there, who cried there, who somehow survived there. I thought I had escaped my past. I was wrong. The email arrived on an ordinary Tuesday morning. The sender's address was unfamiliar, but the name attached to it made my blood run cold. Derek. Little brother, the message read. I know we have been out of touch. Mom is sick. Dad lost his job. We need to talk. Family is family. I stared at those words for a long time. Family is family. As if that phrase meant anything. As if they had not taught me the opposite. I deleted the email and blocked the address. I thought that would be the end of it. 2 weeks later, I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant knocked on the door. Her face was pale. There is a woman in the lobby, she said. She claims to be your mother. She is crying. My stomach dropped. I told my assistant to give me 5 minutes. Then I walked to the lobby. Linda stood there looking nothing like the woman in my memories. She had aged decades in 12 years. Her hair, once a vibrant brown, was now mostly gray. Deep lines creased her face. She was thin, fragile, looking like a strong wind might knock her over. When she saw me, she burst into fresh tears. April, she sobbed. My son. My baby. She reached for me. I stepped back. What are you doing here? I asked. My voice came out flat, emotionless. She launched into a speech she had clearly rehearsed. She was sorry. She knew they had made mistakes. But she was sick now, diabetes needed surgery. My father had lost his job during a recession. Derek's car wash business had failed. They were drowning in debt. We need you, she pleaded. You are family. You have so much now. Surely you can share with the people who gave you life. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I gave you 17 years of my life, I said. You gave me a note that said, figure it out. And I did. But you are not part of that equation anymore. I turned and walked away. She called after me, but I did not look back. The harassment began within days. My father showed up at a public event where I was speaking, trying to get past security. Derek contacted my investors, spinning tales about our difficult childhood, implying I was unstable and untrustworthy. My mother took to social media. She posted a story about her millionaire son who had abandoned his sick mother. The narrative she crafted bore no resemblance to reality, but people believed it. Comments flooded in, calling me heartless, ungrateful, evil. My father started calling my office, leaving threatening voicemails. If you do not help us, he growled in one message, I will tell every reporter who will listen what kind of son you really are. I will ruin you. Some of my clients started asking questions. A few canceled contracts. The lies were spreading and the truth was drowning beneath them. I needed answers. I needed to understand why they had really abandoned me. So I hired a private investigator. What he uncovered shattered whatever remained of my illusions about my family. My grandfather, my father's dad, had passed away the same month they abandoned me. I had barely known him since he lived in a nursing home and my parents never took me to visit. His will had been clear. His assets, including a piece of land on the outskirts of Columbus, were to be divided equally between his two grandchildren, Derek and me. That land was worth approximately $300,000. But my parents had forged my signature. They had created fake documents showing I had transferred my inheritance to Derek. They had taken everything that was rightfully mine and then disposed of me so I would never find out. The investigator handed me copies of the original will and the forged transfer documents. The evidence was irrefutable. I took everything to a lawyer. She reviewed the materials with growing disbelief. "You have grounds for multiple charges," she told me. "Forgery, inheritance fraud, child abandonment. Both civil and criminal cases." "This is not about money," I told her. "I have money. This is about justice." We filed the lawsuits. The story leaked to the press, and suddenly the narrative flipped. The heartless son became the abandoned child. The suffering mother became the con artist. The trial took place at the Franklin County Courthouse. I sat at the plaintiff's table, watching my family enter through a side door. My mother was weeping. My father looked diminished, a shadow of the man who used to terrify me with his temper. Derek would not meet my eyes. Their lawyer tried every angle. My parents were desperate. They made a difficult choice in impossible circumstances. They always intended to reconnect once they were stable. When it was my turn to testify, I told the truth. All of it. The childhood of invisibility, the note on the counter, the shelter, the cold, the hunger, the fear. I pulled out that original note preserved in a plastic sleeve and showed it to the court. My mother wrote, "You will figure it out," I said, my voice steady. So I did. I figured out that blood does not make a family. I figured out that I could survive without people who never wanted me in the first place. I figured out that the people who abandon you do not get to come back when you succeed. A handwriting expert confirmed the forged signatures. Bank records showed where the money from the land sale had gone. The evidence was overwhelming. The judge delivered the verdict. Guilty on all counts of forgery and fraud. Derek was found complicit for knowingly benefiting from the crime. The court ordered them to repay my inheritance plus interest totaling $450,000. An additional $200,000 was awarded for emotional damages. My parents received suspended sentences and community service. As they left the courtroom, my mother turned to me one last time. "You are my blood," she screamed. "I am your mother." I looked at her, at this woman who had given birth to me and then thrown me away like garbage. "Blood means nothing," I said quietly. "You taught me that 12 years ago." I walked out of that courthouse and did not look back. The weeks after the trial were strange. I had expected to feel victorious, triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow, like I had been carrying a weight for so long that its sudden absence left me unbalanced. I took time off from work. I walked through Columbus, visiting places from my past, the shelter where I had slept on that thin mattress, the pizza shop where I had worked double shifts, the spot where Mr. Howard's repair shop used to stand before it was torn down for new development. I thought about the boy I used to be, scared, alone, convinced that his own family's rejection meant he was worthless. I wanted to reach back through time and tell him that he would be okay, that their abandonment was not his fault, that he would build a life beyond anything he could imagine. I donated the entire settlement, all $650,000, to organizations supporting homeless youth. I established a scholarship fund in Mr. Howard's name for students from difficult backgrounds pursuing technology careers. I bought a building near downtown and converted it into a free tech training center for young people. I did not want their money. I never did. What I wanted was acknowledgement that what they did was wrong. And I got that not from them but from a court of law, from public record, from the truth finally being told. Mrs. Patterson is still in my life. She retired from teaching a few years ago, but we have dinner together every month. She became the mother figure I never had, the person who showed me that adults could be trustworthy, that care could be unconditional. My company employs over 200 people now. We have grown far beyond that initial personal finance app. Every Thanksgiving, instead of a traditional family dinner, I host a celebration for my employees and their families. We share food and stories and gratitude. These people who came into my life by choice rather than blood are my real family. I learned 3 lessons from everything I endured. First, family is not defined by genetics. It is defined by who shows up for you, who believes in you, who stays even when staying is hard. Mrs. Patterson showed up. Mr. Howard showed up. My team shows up every single day. Second, pain can become fuel. The hurt my family caused me could have destroyed me. Instead, I let it drive me, not out of spite or revenge, but out of a desperate need to prove that their estimation of my worth was wrong. Third, forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I have let go of my anger toward my parents and brother. Holding on to rage would only poison me. But letting go does not mean letting them back in. Some doors once closed should stay closed forever. If you are watching this and you have been abandoned by people who should have loved you, please hear me. Their rejection is not a reflection of your value. You are worthy of love, of success, of happiness. And the people who could not see that are not worth your tears. You will figure it out. But not in the way they meant. You will figure out that you deserve better. You will figure out that you are stronger than you know. You will figure out that the best revenge is building a beautiful life and never letting them be part of it. I would love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever had to walk away from family members who hurt you? How did you find your true family? Drop your answers in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe to this channel for more stories about resilience, healing, and finding your own path. Thank you for watching, and remember, your past does not define your future. You define your future. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.